Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a great day. In this video, I want to share a post-burn review of Maison Margiela Replica When the Rain Stops. I was actually recently gifted this and one other Maison Margiela by a really good girlfriend of mine. This was an incredibly generous gift from her because if you are familiar with Maison Margiela at all, you know that this is one of those luxury brands. Maison Margiela is actually, first of all, they're a fashion house, so they offer a lot of really high-end, expensive clothing pieces. They also have a fragrance component to their fashion house, so they have a perfume line and then also their home fragrance products as well here. The home fragrance products mimic a lot of the perfumes that they actually offer in their personal fragrance lineup. I'm pretty familiar with the Maison Margiela perfumes. They're really beautiful. Here's the thing though about these guys, they're not actually cruelty-free. So while in the past I would have totally probably purchased some of their candles, the only reason that I have not is it's the same reason that I don't purchase their perfumes. I look for dupes from cruelty-free brands. That's the way that I manage this. But yeah, I choose to personally shop cruelty-free when it comes to frivolous things like perfume. So for me, I would not personally shop with Maison Margiela unless they did decide to go cruelty-free. So for me, I'm in the market of the dupes when it comes to this brand here, but it has been really nice to actually experience these candles because I have been very curious about them. And I do have to admit that even though they're not cruelty-free, these really do have like an incredible burn to them. I am most blown away by the strength and throw of these tiny one-wick candles. I believe that this is all of 165 grams of wax, which in ounces is about 5.82 ounces, I believe. So these are not large candles at all, but the strength and the throw of them they're crazy good. So if you don't personally shop cruelty-free and you are someone who splurges on candles either for yourself or as gifts to the special people in your life, this might definitely be a brand worth checking out because yeah, they really perform incredibly well. And another thing that really blows my mind about these is that they're actually mineral wax. So they're paraffin. And you guys know how I feel about paraffin, but these are honestly the cleanest burning paraffin candles that I've ever experienced. I feel like this is a very interesting paraffin formulation. It is unlike any other that I've experienced. It's not that typical like super hard waxy paraffin. So I'm not sure what they do to theirs to make it burn so much better, but yeah, anyway. We're gonna go ahead and dive into this fragrance, which is honestly really beautiful and unique. And it's another one where I'm gonna be on the lookout for a dupe. By the way, thank you to the person who told me that I could get a perfume dupe of the On a Date fragrance, which I just recently reviewed a day or so ago. I can get a dupe of that perfume from the Dua brand. If you're familiar with them, they dupe a lot of high-end fragrances on the market currently. They do a really good job of it too. And so they're cruelty-free. So guess who's gonna be getting that perfume? This guy. I'm raising my hand behind the camera. Anyway, let's dig into this absolutely beautiful fragrance here. This one it's a really beautiful, interesting, unique fragrance. And I bet there's a lot of you out there who would really fall in love with this one. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this particular fragrance has a really beautiful, fresh, aquatic vibe to it. So if that is something that usually appeals to you, you're gonna want to listen closely here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read the fragrance story, then we'll get into the actual notes here. I'll tell you what I smell, and then we'll get into the strength and the throw, and then of course address the overall burn quality. All right, so they say here that this candle is inspired by the joyful nature of spring. It conjures the thought of wet nature under the rays of a joyful rainbow. The aquatic accord signals the last remaining raindrops evaporating from the tips of pine needle trees into the fresh air. Luminous Esparta rose and vibrant pink pepper notes blend blissfully and provide the heart to this candle. The combination of the earthy scent of the patchouli essence associated with the aquatic accord is the signature of the candle as it recreates the atmosphere of wet nature. So it kind of implies here that this might be a really earthy, maybe kind of dirty patchouli note in this fragrance. Let me just allay your fears. This is not a dirty patchouli at all. In fact, this is a very pretty, very perfumey patchouli. But listen, if you don't like patchouli, skip it. It's noticeable enough in here to where it'll probably annoy you, so keep that in mind. But yeah, let's go ahead and dig into the top, middle, and base notes. Okay, at the top we have bergamot, vegetal accord, and pink pepper essence. For the mid notes, we have aquatic accord, Esparta rose petal essence, and jasmine. At the base, we have pine needle oil, patchouli bali essence, which I've never seen that before, and then we have moss accord. All right, so let's discuss. What does this smell like? It's a really, really complex fragrance, you guys. Honestly, there's a lot going on here, but overall, I would say this really is a beautiful, fresh, definitely a floral, like that rose note is definitely quite prominent in here, but more so than being a floral, it very much is a fresh, kind of outdoorsy, truly aquatic type of fragrance. Somehow they do kind of manage to capture like the, I guess, wetness of spring. That's a weird way to put that. But you know how in the spring, when after there is a rain shower, you kind of get this really like fresh, fresh smell that just kind of envelops you after you first walk outdoors. That translates incredibly well in this particular fragrance. Like the name of it, it is so aptly named. In terms of some of these other notes though, let me kind of address those. The bergamot, there is a definite like nice bergamot note in here, but it's not super prominent actually. The vegetal accord actually smells a little bit more like almost like a mix of like a green grass and leafy type note. So that's like, I think I smell more like just overall green than I do vegetal per se. There is a little bit of bite from a pepper, like a peppercorn type note in here, but it's not overly aggressive or strong. The Esparta rose, they also had the same type of rose in the On a Date fragrance, and I really like this rose. It's a very deep, dark, like almost black baccarat type rose note. It's really beautiful. The jasmine, however, brings in a little bit more lightness. You get a healthy dose of that jasmine in here, and it's really lovely. I think that jasmine is what gives this more of like a springy type of vibe, because honestly, the rose, I don't always consider rose like a springtime note. I can't really actually think of any like season where like rose would really be like the scent of the season for me, I guess. I mean, I guess spring makes sense. Things start to bloom then, and roses certainly start the process at that point. But yeah, for me, I don't know. That jasmine smells a little bit more spring-like than the rose does, I guess you could say. The pine needle, this is a really interesting part of this fragrance, and I think it really adds to that like outdoorsy type of effect that this scent has. Again, it's fresh. It doesn't come off smelling like a holiday scent. However, you might think that this might lean a little bit Christmassy because of that. It really doesn't. It just manages to smell fresh and outdoorsy. And I think it's because of all of the other notes in here that, you know, it doesn't lean too Christmassy because of that. The patchouli. Okay, let's actually address the patchouli and the moss together, because I feel that the moss, which is a little bit earthy smelling, is maybe, it's kind of playing with the patchouli a little bit. I do think that the patchouli itself is more of a patchouli that is something that you would find in a perfume, a more feminine perfume. It's not overly earthy or anything like that. It smells really pretty actually, but I do think that that slightly earthy moss note is kind of giving just a little bit of a slightly like earthy but still perfumey vibe to the patchouli. So I really like the moss. It's not like a super earthy, dirty patchouli that you might get in, say, some of the like Kringle Halloween fragrances that we've seen. It's really not that type of patchouli at all. But I do think that the moss component gives a little bit of earthiness to this one. But it's not the type of fragrance that is going to smell overly earthy. It's just, it smells really fresh. It's really clean. It's a very outdoorsy fragrance. And even though I think they intended this one to come off a little bit more springy, I think it's actually been really nice to experience here in the fall as well. We are actually expecting the rains to come back this week to Oregon, and I'm really looking forward to lighting this on a rainy evening later on this coming week. I've really enjoyed this particular fragrance. I think it's really interesting, really unique, and it has a lot of different layers to it. It's a great scent, and honestly, I'll be really bummed when I finish this candle. If you can think of a candle from anywhere that smells similar to this, I would love to know if you have some alternatives, or maybe something else that is roughly in the same family based on how I explained this fragrance here, because it's not something that is in my usual wheelhouse, but I've ended up really enjoying this. And it sucks because if these guys would go cruelty-free, I would totally buy this candle again. Listen, these retail for $72. So this would definitely be one of those splurge type purchases for me. But truly, if they were cruelty-free, and you can get these candles on sale at different retailers, like I would be on the hunt to try to find this somewhere else again on sale. It is that good, you guys. So anyway, for what it's worth, I'm gonna kind of continue to nurse this one along here, but yeah, anyway, strength and throw. Listen, this is like a solid 7. I would say the first couple burns, it's actually pretty close to an 8. It has petered out a little bit here, but it is still a 1 wick with a strength of a solid 7. The throw, I would probably also put somewhere between like a 6 and a 7. It fills a decent part of, I would say, the downstairs of the house. It's definitely one of those fragrances where, or one of those candles where you want to be somewhat mindful about what you're pairing it with. I have paired this one with the other Maison Margiela candle that I just reviewed, and they're actually really great together. They both share that Esparta rose note, so that kind of, I think, ties those two scents together. But oh my gosh, it's just a really lovely fragrance with an amazing strength and throw for the size. I am honestly super, super impressed. Overall burn quality. Listen, for this being a paraffin candle, this has burned flawlessly. It absolutely flawlessly. I'll give you guys the overhead shot here. There has not been an ounce of soot. The wicks are the type of wicks that will get a little bit of a curl at the top. But other than that, you just trim that little curl off and you're good to go for subsequent burns. I have let this go for up to about 4 or 5 hours at a time and have had 0 issues. By the way, I believe these candles burn up to 40 hours. Hold on here. I'm trying to remember where I saw that. I really think it was 40 hours. Maybe don't quote me on that. I'll try and find that and put it in an annotation. But yeah, I believe that is the rough like burn time. So it's pretty good burn time for a candle of this size. Like, yes, they are expensive, and no, I don't expect everyone to, you know, like run out and grab any of these Maison Margiela candles. Like I said, this is gonna be a pretty specific audience here who, you know, might be on the hunt for a really nice gift for someone else, or maybe someone who wants to really treat themselves because of the price point. So yeah, not an everyday candle, but definitely a really special scent. So let's take a look at this overhead burn here so that you can see. I'm just starting to get my initial pool here. By the way, yesterday when I burned this, I didn't let it pool out completely over here. So I'm gonna hope that that continues to go down. I think it will. I don't think it'll give me any problems, but I'll definitely update you guys. So you can see that nice, clean, creamy wax down there. Not an ounce of soot or discoloration or anything like that. This candle is burning like a friggin' champ. What a great scent. Also, hey, Maison Margiela, maybe go cruelty-free. I'd love to give these guys my money, especially when it comes to their perfumes. Have you smelled some of them? Ugh. The next time that you're at your local Sephora, go and smell some of these fragrances. They're the Jazz Club by the Fireplace. Oh, by the Fireplace is so good. I actually have a couple of dupes from Dossier and I think one other dupe company. They have some really great recreations of that particular perfume. Yeah, anyway, if you've never smelled the perfumes from Maison Margiela, you should go check them out. A lot of them are actually really great unisex scents. So yeah, for what it's worth, those are my thoughts. I am gonna send another little thank you to my friend Faith for gifting me these candles. Like I said, this was incredibly generous on her part, and yeah, I'll be repaying the favor to her here shortly. So Faith and I usually send each other different gifts throughout the years. So anyway, yeah, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Subscribe if you're new. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.